There we go. Welcome back to another episode, my lords, ladies, and gentlemen. I bet you all know what you're in for this evening. Well, actually, that was a complete lie. It's a study of the finer points of needlecraft. No, I'm only kidding. So we are looking at some fresh research from Crest Research, a vocation, a website, a resource that we as humans, as operators, continually pull from in order to keep our knowledge as up to date as we possibly can. It's a wonderful resource. And with that in mind, it is this idea of lie detection, deception detection, and all of the the fancy buzzwords and terminology that comes out of it in that area. It is a topic that we have orbited around before. But as with all things in this area, particularly as we live in an age where cognitive offloading is key and finding magical models that will seemingly do all of our thinking and following for us, it leads to this idea that, well, if we just spot a couple of body language signals in the right way, follow the right pattern, watch for the right differential markers from the particular baseline in question, and boom, you have guaranteed lie detection every single time. When the fact of the matter is, it couldn't be any further from the truth. One of the standout points, at least for me, from the resource, and it has been hinted at before with the idea of, there isn't a Pinocchio effect, is that there is no one single behavior of the non-verbal persuasion that is particularly synonymous with somebody who is lying. There is no one single movement that is communicative of somebody telling a lie. As in, well, you've seen this nervous sweat or this twitch of the eyes or this movement of the elbow. Therefore, certainly says they are lying. And so that's where we're coming from today. Bob, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's something that I must admit I've moved away from it because I'm an ex-police officer, people automatically assume, and when you speak to them, that's something that they say to you, oh, you do lie detection. No, I don't, and I never did, to be fair. What my role, I think, in the police was to ascertain the veracity of what someone was saying and to see where the truth lies, not where the lies sit.
Mm.
And the simple reason for that, I think, is that you, um, if you're looking for lies, you will see lies whether they're there or not because you'll become biased. And so you steer away from that. And it's fair to say that I was a police officer. I'm by no way a deception detection expert because, but newsflash, just because you was in the police or the FBI or the CIA, it doesn't make you give you superpowers. Um, and what I've learned, and certainly I retired a long while ago from the police, and certainly since my retirement, the science, like all psychological science and neuroscience, has taken massive leaps forward. And so when during my period, we adopted a non-accusatory approach to interviewing called the peace model, but that now has expanded, as you would expect it
Mm.
would, into
Mm.
great variety of approaches. You've got the strategic use of evidence, Sue. You've got credibility, cognitive credibility analysis. You've got a new one which was coming quite recently is variability. I've got it written down here. Variability approach, VA, which is Albert Reed. Um, I think I've pronounced that right. His surname, who
Thank you very
comes,
much.
who is really is could be deemed to be an expert in this area. I think it's dangerous to look for deception. It's about testing what people say. I mean, there are clues verbally that someone is withholding. But then we've got to look at lying, haven't we? And
Mm.
is lying bad?
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the, what always cracks me up, and never in the the pleasant comedic sense, is that when people talk about, well, this person has been proven to be lying so of many thousands of times, so of many hundreds of times. The popular character for that at the minute is obviously Farage, right?
Mm.
But the proven part of the lying is never from the sweat on his brow, the blink rate, the way he shifted in the chair, whether he crossed right over left or left over right, or
Mm.
the proven side of it normally comes in that he said this, and here are a list of irrefutable facts that disagree with that.
Yeah.
Or he said this, and then a few days later, weeks later, whatever it is, he said this. So there's caused a question around that, and one of the things that I'm going to call him Aldert because I have no idea how to pronounce his second name, so I'm gonna bypass it completely. Uh, Vry, Bridge, I've no idea. Aldert, if you ever end up
It's
watching
Vrij, so I
this,
understand.
okay.
Yeah.
If you ever end up watching this, Mr. Vrij, I apologize for butchering your name. Uh, I was trying to bypass the debacle altogether. Anyway, one of the salient points that comes from his research is that to follow the air of deception detection from purely a non-verbal communication standpoint alone, it's no better than guesswork.
Yeah.
It's no better than guesswork. Somebody who spent, I don't know, what's a ridiculous 60 years looking at body language and behavioral studies in that way would ultimately mean that somebody who has zero experience in that area could come down and achieve about the same
Yeah.
verifiability. So it calls into question the methods that are used and why they are pushed into the public ethos so much, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's loads of fallacies
Mm.
around investigative interviewing, and one of the most prevalent is that people don't talk to the police. They say no comment. But I've done some research, and a lot of it is historical now, but it's less than 5%. And I think that is going down. There's been, since I retired, there's been new legislation brought in around that, so I understand. But also, I think it is an indication that interviewing has become more of an art now.
Mm.
As it's evolved, it's become better, and the tactics that the police use, like the strategic use of evidence, where you have evidence of what someone's done and you withhold that and you ask them questions about it, and then spring on them. Well, you've told me this, but we know this, and they're different. How do you explain that type of scenario?
Yeah.
Has helped. But people do let themselves away. Liars will probably, and we say probably because we can't say everyone, because I've never interviewed everyone in the world. So how can I even say that? I've only
Exactly.
ever interviewed people in English. So how can I say that people from other cultures behave differently? But what I think is right is that people who know that they're truthful sometimes mislead their interviewer if they're less aware because they will not feel the need to give away too much
Mm.
because
Mm.
they're confident that they haven't got anything to worry about.
Mm.
Whereas you may find that people who have got something that they want to keep from you will say a lot more, but there won't be anything checkable in it.
Yeah.
There won't be anything you can pin in it.
Mm.
They, in a lot for a word, they will confabulate. They'll bullshit,
Yeah.
but not in a like salesman type. But they will say a lot, hoping that saying a lot will be enough for you not to look where they don't want you to look.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the verifiability approach in a nutshell, right?
Mm,
And that's one of the things that I took from this Crest model and the previous reading that I've done of Mr. Vries's research is that one of the few um, corner points of the research that doesn't really move, in that it does have a lot of support to it, is that truth tellers will give you things and details and rich confirming data points, and liars won't, because of the lie that's going through, and that's really about it. that's
Mm,
that's
yeah.
that's really about it that you can work with from an objectionable viewpoint, And it's, if you look at the stakes in a particular scenario. I mean, I'm about to invite people to do this themselves. Make sure it's with people that you know, because when I describe the situation, you might get punched if it's with people that you don't. So a kind of word of caution in that area. If you ask somebody a question that you know that they know there is a truthful response, and it's kind of explicit, like what they've just had for dinner, something simple like that. But if you were to ask it in the sense that, hey, so what did you have for dinner? What did you have? Did you enjoy it? Where'd you get it from? How long did you cook it for? What did you enjoy? And just really crank the pressure up in an almost ridiculous sensibility, and then do the same thing for a question that you know that they have lied to or could lie to, increase the pressure in the same way, and you'll see similar non-verbals, right? Because stress, anxiety, or autonomic nervous system arousal, all of these posh words, they signify activity, right? They don't
Mm,
signify meaning. The meaning is to be interpreted and explored and verified against the other data points that come up. But that's the one thing that cracks me up. Oh, he was anxious. Okay,
yeah.
that doesn't mean anything. And I'm sure you've had this from being in the police as well, talking to people who are nervous around that, the uniform and the authority that is implied from the uniform. Especially if you're talking to, I don't know, somebody who's of a slightly more frail disposition. There is a natural inclination towards anxiety in the face of those kind of implied social responses. And everyone has that through line: truth tellers, liars, and everywhere else in between. If you're looking for liars, as you said, you'll find them. You'll
Mm,
find them. It's one of the, like, for anyone who's listening to this, if you're not part of the meetings for the Deception Research Society, you're missing out. You're missing
mm,
out. There's a mailing list, and you can get on Zoom calls and you can join in. They're free of charge, and it's just a bunch of people who work in this area, fully peeling it back, fully allowing all of the the unwashed masses like myself a little peek behind the curtain as to how
mm,
these areas scientifically, neuroscientifically, how they work. It's a great thing.
mm. There is a thing here about the truth as well, isn't it? Is the truth factual or is it personal?
Yeah.
And if that's the case, could you, if you had had enough time, make what you want to be the truth
Yeah.
for you? And so, if you're interviewed and with that frame of mind, then is that going to defeat all of these body language and that type of thing? Because if you're in a position where you believe what you're saying, it becomes your truth, doesn't it?
Yes. Yes, it's this is why I've become over the years less enamored with kind of voraciously reading everything that I can and applying everything that I can in this area, because it's so fraught with contextual challenges, and there are other more reliable factors to view at.
Mm,
So in that position as an operator, if I can work on my capacity to mitigate my own confirmation biases, right? Like, again, if you take Mr. Farage, and if you're of the opinion that he lies every time he opens his mouth, that's a bias.
mm,
So, like him or lump him, that's a bias. So if you're not entertaining that with the right kind of critical objectivity each time, by default, it means your bias is missing vital information. Vital
Yeah.
information. One of the things I used to go through in terms of my memory training classes, and I do like to throw the odd unfair challenge just to see. It's like a fishing rod for experience, and it will be things like, well, we'll have a conversation and we're practicing active listening, and there's about 5 or 6 of us, and it's designed to make sure that in our working memory we can hold what everyone's viewpoints are and what everyone's talking points are. Great. Then next time, a couple of days later, a week, whatever it is, we'll be going in for a similar game. Similar topics arise, and I purposefully will give a different point of view on whatever it was that I gave last time, just to see if people are like, hang on a minute,
Mm.
or it washes over us in that situation. The content of the way somebody speaks, it's an easy thing for us to get at, because content can be memorized. That someone's statement can be memorized. Right.
Mm.
The strength of the memory comes with the strength of your training, and this isn't a discussion about the fallibility of that. But if somebody says that they believe X one week, and then the week after it's they believe Y, doesn't mean definitively that they are now lying. It just
No.
means definitively that something has happened. So it
Yeah.
gives you cause to explore further because you just recognize those differences.
Mm. I think when you mentioned about the fallibility of memory, that's got to be acknowledged. And for anyone who does watch this, who is outside of that arena and hasn't come across that before, the more times we tell a story, like where we tell a story to our friends and they get a positive response to it, the next time, without even knowing it, we may embellish it a
Yeah.
little bit, And one of the things that when I was involved in this sort of area, would say to people is, how many times have you told a story? How many people have you told? Am I the first person that you've told this to? Because the first account, as if you can get it as near to the event as possible, the first account is really important.
Mm,
And you may find that if you went back and spoke to that person a few days later, they won't remember as much, or they may have a slightly different perspective on it because they've had time to think about it. They've had to then mold it over in their mind, and then we put different perspectives on it. We start to have what if moments. And what if I actually got that little bit wrong? And
yeah.
that's really important. And in a lot of criminal cases, that is something the defense use
Yeah.
um, to try and not trip people up, but to test their recall
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the validity of their recall.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There was a fun example of this, not in a lying standpoint, but just the failings of memory based on irrefutable information that somebody is interacted with. Me and my wife, we really like the show on Channel 4, Taskmaster. It's it's
Mm,
it's for those that don't know it, it's five comedians engaging in some silly tasks, and it's
mm,
tons of fun. But there's a comedian on there called Maisie Adam or Maisie Adams. I'm not sure. And in the build up to it, the task was to identify the mascot for the Chesham or Chesham a Chesham United football team. Now Maisie's running around going, I don't know what the mascot looks like, and there's various reveals of different mascots, and she's panicking because she can't figure out what the mascot looks like or what it might look like. And then it cuts back to the studio of a couple of weeks prior of Maisie playing football at Chesham, standing with the mascot. So she's just completely, it just
yeah.
it's just been deleted from
Mm,
that piece of information. So in those
yeah.
moments, somebody saying, Maisie, have you ever met the mascot? No, no, I haven't. It could read, if you follow the non-verbals, as completely true because it is to her. She's
Mm,
just forgotten it because that's
mm,
what happens with your memory.
yeah.
Try as we might to be these kind of Terminator level CPUs that just take in everything around us, information will slip by the wayside. That's one of the downsides, really, if you think about it. That's one of the downsides of being human. You can put your car
Mm.
keys down, and then for one reason or another, they become completely invisible, even though you've put them in the same place for like the last 10 years. That one stage, that one time that you go, I've no idea where my car keys are, the memory's gone, and
Yeah.
it's a difficult thing to manage. So yeah, Elizabeth Loftus. If for those who haven't looked into this, we've spoken about her research a few times. So if you haven't, there is a very information heavy rabbit hole to tumble in.
Yeah, and likewise, I would say that Elizabeth Stokoe,
Yeah,
who wrote Talk, has also more recently, I think 2022, done this content analysis. What did I say? What it's called? I've kind of lost it now. Content credibility analysis, and that's a really good paper to read. So she takes the concepts that she had in Talk and moves it to that sort of area about the words that we use. And there's, if you start to do credible content analysis, then you start to see there's words that move you towards, there's words that move you away, there's words we use to hedge.
yeah,
And once you get to understand those, then analyzing the content of what people are saying becomes a lot easier. So that's a good book I'd recommend, or a good report I'd recommend.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. The key is details, right? The key
Oh
is
yeah, without a
details.
doubt.
Yeah, and if you're focusing on the details of non-verbals and you're just approaching it from maybe an education standpoint, you're just looking to read more about it. Me personally, nothing wrong with that. You fill your boots as much as you want. I've done it. I'm just reading just to understand the background, the history of the research, where it's come from, in order to figure out where it's going. But
Mm.
when you start to turn the corner into application, and there is the possibility of deception that arises as an idea when you are working. It is these tools that you'll be coming back to. You will get so much more uh, efficacy is probably the best word. You'll get so much more efficacy in your deployment of some effective investigative conversations, or something from
Yeah,
Professor Shepard, or the exploration of the content of language, or the
yeah,
exploration of the meaning of what somebody said, rather than the relying on movement. Right? If movement's all you've got to work with, you need more data. You
sure.
you need more.
Yeah, and it's quite apt that you mentioned that. It's something that you're going, well, we are going to be taking forward is this approach to interviewing. We've called it investigative, say forensically
Yeah,
interviewing because it's science based.
yeah.
And I think it's important that people realize there's no silver bullet, and you can get it wrong. And the key is validation,
Mm,
facts and validation. That's what you have to build an approach on. So if you're outside of the sort of investigative interviewing field, if you are with people, don't try to look for lies.
mm,
That would be my advice, is just get a read on that person and you will see when they change because and that change could be that, oh, this guy really, really wants me to believe this because he's really pushing it.
mm,
That might be an indicator. Who
mm,
knows? But
mm,
you'd only know that if you know the person because if it's my wife, she likes to go into think in fine detail when she's telling me a story. And sometimes I think, oh, can you get to the point?
yeah,
But some people are like that. And so it's you've got to know the person, you've got to know what their normal behavior is before you get anywhere near
absolutely.
being able to see moves away from it. And then you've got to go through a whole new process. Well, what does it mean? Is
Mm,
it a one-off or is it something that I need to look at and validate?
yeah,
It's not as simple as people will make you think. It's an art, it's a
mm,
science, but the actual application of it is an art.
100%. 100%. One of the things that keeps sticking out for me when people mention, like, oh, I can spot lies easily and all this kind of thing is this guy's quoted the notion of twisting facts to suit a theory instead of theories to suit a fact.
Yeah,
When you are working in whatever discipline that you are called to work in, if it is that your search is for a method that will make spotting lies easy, just to use the kind of flagrant terminology there, then that's the bias you have against the management of cognitive load in that particular
yeah,
situation, because you're looking for a way to navigate all that information. And don't get us wrong, we've worked in it. We know it's a lot. it's a
yeah,
lot. It's a lot to go through. It is not easy. That's where your work is. That's
mm,
the twisting theory to suit the fact. It isn't going towards some other pseudo-backed nonsense that says if you just follow these 5 steps, you'll spot them every
mm,
time. Because people don't work that way. People don't.
yeah,
I mean, try as we might over the years, we've tried to cram humans into simple, understandable little frames. Humans, they
yeah,
don't work that way. So the better
yeah,
position is to be in receipt of or open to all of the information that they are going to share with you, able to share with you, wanting to share with you in those particular moments. That's the key to the mindset shift,
yeah,
not to look for convenience.
yeah. And
Uh,
also remember that there are shades of lies. There's not just, and you should expect to be lied to because we all do it. If you count in the different shades of lie, like estimation, underestimation, just not saying, they're all forms of lies,
mm,
but they're not, there are white lies. The lies we say to people don't feel bad about themselves,
mm,
or that we do just to get a connection with someone.
yeah,
But then there's the really bad lies, the lies that we do to gain an advantage in a situation.
yeah,
And so I would say to people, expect in some way to be lied to
yeah,
because it's part of who we are, it's part
yeah,
of what we do.
yeah. Do you really think the burgers on the picture for McDonald's actually look that way?
No, they don't, definitely don't. I can tell you that for a fact.
the,
And they're getting smaller.
yeah, yeah, they are.
Price is going up and they're getting smaller.
So Pascal says, and in lie detecting, we need to take into consideration the verbal, personal behavioral repertoire of the person, and if possible, use the polar breakdown to have a better understanding of what is happening. And that's true, like because there is no single observable trait that signals lying. Like I was talking to a mate of mine in reference to the view on plagiarism with ChatGPT and any other AI services.
Yeah,
They get their documents to be written for them, all of that kind of stuff. Um, and they have specific things that the AI checkers look for, specific phrasing, as in it's not just A, it's also B, and so on and so forth. But then that got us thinking, well, what if that's just how the person talks?
yeah,
What if they are naturally effervescent and descriptive and
yeah,
try to and get, what if that's how they do it normally? So in the
yeah,
same sense, what if somebody is naturally quite a nervous person in new situations, or doesn't deal with confrontation very well, or can't handle a direct serious confrontations without making a joke, or some kind of distraction
mm,
method. This understanding that Pascal's mentioning with the behavioral repertoires, both verbal and non-verbal, that's the key. You can't go into a situation cold and have an insight as to where the baseline has shifted, because there's nothing to compare
sure.
it to. In the same sense that you can't have happiness without sadness.
Mm, yeah,
The Newtonian opposites rings true, because otherwise there's just a feeling that you will call something we know of happiness because it's seen as an opposite to sadness. Like if everyone was a 10 out of 10, then 10 out of 10s don't exist because
Well,
there's no view for comparison there. Um,
yeah, and I think even with the behavioural repertoire that Pascal mentioned, I would say that if I was to break down the various elements of that, it's always words and the way they're saying without way. In my mind, if I'm analysing someone, it's the words they're using and that before their behaviour. Um, I would I would listen to the words first before, and then if if it chimes with me, then I'd be looking thinking about the behaviour as well. But it's the words that are the most important to me.
Nice, nice. I wouldn't disagree with you. I just add on um, work that you as an operator can do to strengthen your mindset, so that when the stakes of the situations go up, you don't go with them,
Yeah,
right? Because
yeah,
just because somebody's experiencing a high stakes scenario doesn't mean by default you're not affected.
no,
You know,
without a doubt,
exactly.
without a doubt. And the other thing that I would say, because I think we're coming to an end now, the other thing I would say is remember Lewin's equation that people's behaviour will differ and will be different depending on the situation they're in.
Yeah,
And if you think that sitting in an interview room in a police station with your back to the wall, facing a door that you can't get to because there's two interviewing officers in between you, doesn't affect you, then no matter who you are, it's going to have an effect on you. And that effect will be different depending on what type of person you are. And it'll be the fight or flight, won't it? You'll either withdraw or you'll try to fight back.
yeah,
And part of that fighting back might seem to whoever's speaking to you like lies
exactly,
or
exactly.
that withdrawing, because conversely,
Yeah,
you'd
yeah.
be seen as that.
Yeah, I mean that's it. You know, so if anything, um, work on your biases, right?
Yeah,
Work on them.
yeah. And get in a classroom. And it's easy for this because the classroom is your life. So just, look at people and be prepared to be wrong. I think we've said that before, but I think it's very, you know,
Yeah,
that's how you learn. It's not by getting it right,
yeah,
because that means that you think, because I got it right that time, I'm always going to get it right. And that's as dangerous as well, even more dangerous than getting it wrong. Be
absolutely,
prepared to get it wrong. I
absolutely.
get it wrong all the time.
Same.
Not all the time, but I get it wrong. I
Well,
shouldn't have said all the time. I do get it right sometimes.
that's the viewpoint, though, isn't it? We as human beings, we will get it wrong, but so long as we learn from that,
Hmm.
it's the classic of learning from
Yeah.
your mistakes. And if you're not prepared to do that, you're never going to be as effective,
No.
malleable towards the situation that you need to be in.
Yeah.
Um, so, guys, if you've gotten anything out of this, please don't lie to us. Actually, tell us the truth, and or maybe do. We'll have a conversation about it and see where we can figure out where these lies actually sit, and we'll engage some kind of statement analysis game by default. Um, but yeah, this is part of our weekly stream to bring you some behavioral intelligence insight. So there is a free way that you can show us that you're getting something out of this is when these episodes go out live and edited. Subscribe. You know, it lets us be
Yeah.
able to keep bringing you this insight every week. And if you want to join in on these streams live, as Pascal's been doing today, then you need to be in the group. The link will be underneath. Make sure you answer the questions, otherwise we won't see the responses. It's not that we're being ignorant; we just won't see them. And so make sure they're coming in hot, and we'll see you for a live stream very soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
Guys,
Bye.
take it easy.